something is happening to this city. The kind of thing that makes the air feel different, heavier, like the sky itself is holding its breath before something terrible breaks loose. People feel it in the streets, even if they cannot name it. That particular stillness that comes before everything falls apart. Peter Parker feels it too. He just has more reasons than most to pay attention to that feeling. 8 years of this. 8 years of the mask, the web, the sleepless nights, and the constant impossible balancing act between the man he is and the hero the city needs him to be. 8 years of being Spider-Man, and somehow the city always finds new ways to surprise him, new threats that arrive without warning, new enemies who make the ones before them seem almost manageable by comparison. Tonight starts like most nights. Someone needs help and he goes, that is the whole job distilled to its simplest form. Everything else is just details. The surveillance towers are down. Every single one of them citywide all at once. Yuri Watanabe, his most reliable contact on the force, reaches out not because she has to but because she trusts him, and in this city at this hour that means something considerable. Someone sabotaged the central server. An inside job most likely, which means the threat is closer to the center of things than anyone is comfortable admitting. Peter gets the towers back online because that is what he does, quietly and without anyone making a speech about it. Otto Octavius is working late again. He almost always is. The lab they share exists in that particular zone of organized chaos that only people who genuinely love what they do can tolerate, and both of them love this work in ways they find difficult to articulate to anyone outside it. The project they have been building together is closer to completion than either of them dared hope even 6 months ago. Neural interface technology that could change the lives of millions of people who have lost the use of their limbs. A prosthetic arm system driven by thought itself, faster than any external signal, more responsive than anything currently on the market. The kind of work that justifies the years of grants and setbacks and rooms that smell faintly of burnt wiring. Otto is brilliant. Peter has known brilliant people, and Otto is among the best he has ever encountered. The kind of mind that sees connections between things that ordinary intelligence cannot bridge. He is also, Peter is beginning to notice, not entirely well. The neural web that drives the prosthetic system is not isolating his motor neurons the way it should. It may be affecting other things. Mood, inhibition, the subtle internal governors that keep even the best minds from drifting somewhere they should not go. Peter raises it carefully because there is no easy way to tell someone you admire that the thing they have built might be changing them from the inside. Otto hears him. He does not fully accept it. He tells Peter not to worry and smiles in the way people smile when they have already decided to continue regardless of the advice they have just received. The grant committee comes and the demonstration ends in disaster. Equipment fails spectacularly in ways that cannot be easily explained away. The smell of failure hangs in the air alongside the smoke. Otto holds it together until the committee leaves and then becomes someone slightly different, someone whose composure has developed cracks that were not visible before. Mayor Norman Osborne arrives shortly after with the polished efficiency of a man who has been waiting for exactly this moment. The lab is being shut down, the equipment confiscated. Otto will receive the finest prosthetics Oscorp Robotics can provide, as a courtesy, as a kindness, and the subtext is clear to anyone paying attention. This was never about safety violations. This was about control. Otto's face in that moment is something Peter will not forget for a long time. Mary Jane Watson is investigating something she is not supposed to be investigating, which is, in Peter's experience, her natural state of being and one of the things he has always found impossible not to admire about her. She is at a Fisk Estate auction when she is absolutely not supposed to be, armed with press credentials and the particular kind of nerve that gets journalists either great stories or seriously hurt. She finds a Chinese opera mask, old, ornate, bearing a symbol that translates roughly to demon. It connects to something larger, something organized, something that has been operating beneath the surface of the city's underworld with a focus and discipline that ordinary criminal enterprises do not usually possess. Martin Lee runs the Feast Center on the ground floor of his faith and the infrastructure of his charity. He is someone Peter genuinely respects, a man whose commitment to helping others seems to come from a real place rather than from the calculations of image management. But Martin Lee also has a history with Norman Osborne that runs much deeper and much darker than the public record shows, And whatever that history contains, it has been building towards something for a very long time. The masked men who call themselves the demons are Leah's instrument. They operate with military precision, hitting Fisk's operations, seizing resources, building toward a single catastrophic objective. Peter starts pulling the threads. Every thread leads somewhere worse than the last. Meanwhile, the city is changing around him in ways that make the usual threats feel almost quaint. Rikers Island falls in a coordinated attack planned from the outside. Every cell block breached simultaneously, hundreds of prisoners flooding toward Midtown. Peter arrives in time to help contain the chaos, but the scale of it is staggering, a reminder that whoever is behind this has resources and planning capability that goes well beyond anything he has faced before. The Raft, the Supermax facility, should be secure. It is not. Electro is free. Rhino is free. Scorpion, the Vulture. Faces Peter knows well from some of the worst nights of the past 8 years, all loose simultaneously, all seemingly coordinated, all apparently working toward a shared purpose that has not yet been fully revealed. Doctor Octopus. The name arrives with the weight of something that has been a long time coming. The neural interface has done exactly what Peter feared it might. It has not just enhanced Otto's capabilities, it has rewritten him from the inside, taken the bitterness and the grievance and the genius and amplified everything dangerous while suppressing everything that kept those things in check. The man Peter worked beside, the man he looked up to, the man who called him a son in everything but name, is still in there somewhere beneath what the technology has made of him. But what the technology has made of him is formidable and furious, and absolutely certain that the world owes him a debt it has refused to pay. Otto has assembled the Sinister Six, not as a coalition of convenience but as an instrument of targeted destruction. Electro, Rhino, Scorpion, Vulture, Mr. Negative. Each of them brought into alignment through promises of debt repaid, of scores settled, of a world rearranged to reflect its actual power rather than its performed decency. And at the center of it all is Devil's Breath, an Oscorp bioweapon that was never supposed to exist, a genetic plague that Norman Osborne built in a secret unregulated laboratory and then buried deep enough that only a handful of people knew it was real. Devil's Breath is loose in the city. The numbers climb with the particular horror of things that cannot be stopped once they begin moving. 500,000 civilians infected within hours. The citywide quarantine descends, enforced by Sable International. A private security force Mayor Osborne has contracted to operate independently of the police department, which creates its own set of complications that Peter does not have time to fully untangle. Silver Sable is professional and competent and operates according to a morality that is internally consistent even when it conflicts with Peter's in ways that are difficult to navigate at speed. They work together because they have to. They do not entirely trust each other because they are honest people. Aunt May is running feast. Of course she is. When Martin Lee went to ground, she absorbed the responsibility of keeping the center operational because that is who May Parker has always been. Someone who sees what needs doing and does it without waiting for someone more qualified to show up. Peter does not know yet how sick she is. He will find out in the worst possible way. Miles Morales comes into the story the way significant people often do, through a combination of tragedy and timing. His father, Jefferson Davis, is honored at a ceremony at City Hall for acts of extraordinary bravery. The ceremony becomes a massacre. The bomb that goes off in that hall changes the trajectory of multiple lives simultaneously, and in the wreckage of it, Miles finds something unexpected. A complicated, grief-driven connection with Peter Parker that neither of them fully understands yet, and both of them need more than they can comfortably admit. Miles volunteers at Feast because staying still is harder than doing something. He is 16 years old and has just lost his father and is operating on the kind of sustained forward motion that grief sometimes produces as a survival mechanism. He fixes an old television in the common room because he knows how electronics work, and the impulse to help is apparently hardwired into him in ways that suggest his father's blood runs very strongly in his veins. Peter watches him and recognizes something, not just the loss but the quality of the person navigating it, the particular way some people move through the worst things that happen to them without being consumed. Mary Jane breaks the Oscorp story. The exclusive report that reveals Devil's Breath originated in a secret, unregulated Oscorp laboratory changes the public conversation overnight. It is the kind of journalism that matters, the kind that costs something to produce and changes something by existing. She files it under pressure and against advice, and it lands exactly the way she knew it would. Robbie Robertson promotes her to associate editor. She takes it as a sign to keep going rather than to slow down. The anti-serum exists. Oscorp has been developing one, which means Norman Osborne knew the risk he was taking when he created the original weapon and prepared an exit strategy before anyone else even knew there was a problem. Dr. Morgan Michaels is the key. He has the only viable sample. Getting him out of Sable custody requires a level of improvisation that puts both MJ and Peter in places neither of them expected to be, operating in parallel in the same physical space without a clean channel of communication, which is either a very efficient use of resources or a disaster in slow motion depending on how you look at it. The sample gets taken anyway. Otto has planned for every contingency with the systematic thoroughness of someone who spent decades building things more complex than other people could understand. And the loss of the anti-serum and the chaos of its retrieval feels less like a failure and more like the moment a trap closes. He has been several moves ahead the entire time. The confrontation at the top of Oscorp Tower contains everything that has been building since the beginning. Norman Osborne restrained above the city, while Otto delivers a verdict that has been forming for years in the space between what he was owed and what he received. All those lies. All those years. The settlement that bought Otto's silence and the career that followed, built on grants and borrowed time and equipment that Norman could have funded with one afternoon's profit. The genius that went unrecognized while the businessman who stole his ideas put his name on a building. The fury is real, and it is not entirely wrong, and that is the most difficult part of all of it. Peter tries to reach him. He has always tried to reach him. The neural interface is not just affecting Otto's motor functions anymore. It has become something else, a second architecture running alongside his original personality, convincing him that everything he is doing is not only justified but necessary. That the man who is doing these things is the truest version of himself rather than a corrupted one. This is the hardest kind of monster to fight, the kind that used to be someone you loved, the kind that still has the face of the person you looked up to even as they are doing the thing you cannot allow them to do. He uses the arms. He is extraordinary with them in the way he was always extraordinary with everything he turned his full attention toward. 6 limbs that think almost as fast as he does, that respond to intention before the signal has fully traveled, that extend his reach into a fighting style that Peter has no ready answer for. The battle across the city and eventually across Oscorp Tower itself is the hardest thing Peter has done, not because of the physical difficulty, but because every moment of it is also a grief, a loss happening in real time, a relationship being destroyed one blow at a time. Peter builds a dampening device. Something Otto himself helped design. The principles laid down in their shared work now turned back against the work's creator in the only way that might stop this without killing him. He attaches it to the arms. The system fails. He finds another approach. He keeps going because stopping is not an option, not while May is dying in a room somewhere in this city. Not while 500,000 people are waiting for a cure that only exists as a single viable sample in Otto's possession. The anti-serum. There is only enough of it to save one person or to serve as the base for producing enough doses to cure the city. Not both, one or the other. The cure can be synthesized from the sample, but it will take hours, maybe longer. And in the meantime, one person who matters very much to Peter Parker is running out of time in a room at the Feast Center. He makes the choice that May would make. He knows that before he makes it anyway, not because it is easy, but because she raised him to understand that the right thing to do is not always the thing that costs the least. May knows. She has known for a while, she tells him, when he finally sits beside her and there is nothing left to protect or hide. She is not angry. She is not even surprised. She is proud in the quiet, complete way that people are proud when they have watched someone become exactly who they were supposed to be and the becoming cost everyone something real. Ben would be proud too, she tells him. All the people he has saved, all the years, all the nights. He does not know what to do with that. She tells him that yes, he does. She is right. He always does. The city is going to recover. The anti-serum will be synthesized and distributed, and the quarantine will eventually lift and the survivors will return to whatever approximates normal life after something like this. Otto will be taken into custody. His arms, the things that made him into what he became, will be removed. He will be physically helpless in a way he has spent his entire adult life building those arms to prevent. Peter visits him. He does not say the things that would be easy to say. He says the things that are true instead, which is harder and more important, and what Otto spent years modeling for him in a lab that smelled of burnt wiring and coffee and ambition. Norman Osborne has been told. Over the coming days, the truth about Devil's Breath and the secret Oscorp laboratory and the settlement that bought Otto's silence and the years of strategic misdirection will be public knowledge. What Norman built and what he buried and what he allowed to happen to protect the image that was more important to him than the people it was supposed to serve. The city will have questions. The city will deserve answers. Whether it gets them depends on forces that Peter cannot fully control, which is most forces. Which is always the actual condition of being a person who tries to do right in a world that does not run on right and wrong. Miles Morales is going to be something. Peter does not know exactly what yet. Miles does not know exactly what yet. But sitting across from a teenager who just lost his father and still came to volunteer at a community center and still fixed the television in the common room and still showed up, Peter recognizes the thing he recognized in himself a long time ago. The thing May saw first and named before he could. The thing that does not have a satisfying explanation but does have a name. Whatever is happening to Miles physically, the strange things he cannot explain, the changes he cannot talk to his mother about, the abilities arriving without invitation or instruction. Peter knows enough to meet him where he is without making it bigger than it needs to be right now. He has been exactly there. He remembers what it felt like. He tells Miles what he wishes someone had told him, which is mostly just that it is going to be okay and that the confusion is part of it and that figuring it out alone is not the only option available. MJ gets her promotion. She has earned it 3 times over in the past several weeks alone, and she wears it the way she wears everything significant, with a kind of contained satisfaction that does not need an audience. She and Peter are in the same complicated place they have always occupied relative to each other, which is close enough to feel the pull and honest enough to acknowledge what that means without pretending it is simple. There is history here. There is genuine affection and genuine difficulty, and the particular weight of 2 people who know each other well enough to know that getting it wrong again would cost something real. But there is also the moment in the apartment when the boxes are being moved and the evening is settling towards something quieter and he asks her, and she answers, and the answer is the one that has always been underneath everything else. Patient and certain in the way that real things tend to be patient and certain. The things that are actually true do not usually need to shout. The city is still the city. Tomorrow will bring something new to deal with. Something that arrives without warning and demands immediate attention and does not care about the personal life or the grief or the exhaustion or the fact that the suit still needs repairs and the rent is technically overdue again. Tomorrow will ask everything, and the answer will be the same as it always is. Speetherman, New York, same old hymn. Swinging through the last of the evening light above streets that are already beginning to breathe again after everything they just survived, Peter Parker feels the particular quality of the city at this hour, the way it holds its millions of lives simultaneously without effort, the way it keeps moving no matter what it has just been through, the way it is never entirely broken no matter how badly someone tries to break it. He loves this city. He always has. That is, in the end, the whole explanation. Everything else is just the work.